everybody. Welcome back to the Youtini Show, your one-stop shop for everything going on in Star Wars. I'm Eric here with Corey and Wes, and tonight we are talking all about Kathleen Kennedy's future at Lucasfilm. We got some crucial updates on upcoming Star Wars projects, and we have the return of Revenge of the Sith. But to start us off, last week was a pretty wild week if you're Kathleen Kennedy. First, The Hollywood Reporter and other pretty reputable sources put out the news that you're set to retire by the end of 2025, and this led to the entire internet losing its mind, more or less. But all of that changed on Thursday night as Kathleen Kennedy herself sat down with Deadline to give an extensive interview to clarify the record, specifically stating, quote, "I will never retire from making movies." Now, Corey, before we get into too many specifics about this interview, what was your initial impression of this whole situation? Have we ever seen anything like this before?
No, we haven't. Youtini specifically has never reported that Kathleen Kennedy is doing basically anything.
Nope.
Because pretty much everybody that reports this kind of thing usually does it alongside like laser beam eyes of Kathleen Kennedy, and we're like not really in that group of folks. We have some journalistic integrity, but some incredibly reliable sources were reporting this. So for the first time ever, Youtini printed on our website, Kathleen Kennedy is retiring, and shortly thereafter issued a retraction, our first ever major retraction. But it wasn't all our fault. Yeah, this was a pretty wild turn of events. It seemed like this was for real, the way it was reported, that maybe Kathy was finally going to step down. And Kathy herself went and did an incredible interview with Hollywood Reporter. With it was a Hollywood Reporter, right?
With Deadline to correct the Hollywood Reporter.
Yes, that's right. Hollywood Reporter first, and then Deadline afterwards. And not only was that like a shocking firsthand interview in a very short period of time following the initial reporting, but also was chock full of all kinds of details about ongoing Star Wars projects that we have been speculating about, and there was a lot of journalism in that release for sure.
Yeah, it was really probably the most blatant open interview we've gotten from Kathleen Kennedy, or any exec, frankly, in years, I think, as far as things that go on behind the scenes. And the article itself started out actually calling out Puck News, which was the direct source that the Hollywood Reporter and everyone quoted. And they said this. This was what the author of the Deadline article said before they talked to Kathy. This was kind of how vicious this got. It said, quote, "I thought I'd seen it all in trade journalism, but the piranha-like frenzy on Kathleen Kennedy and the successor speculation that followed Matt Bellany's Puck report that Disney was putting her out to pasture is a new one to me." Like, they just saying that the amount of vitriol about this, was just wild. And then, of course, then they went on to chat, and Kathy said that she'd never retire from the film business at all, not meaning Lucasfilm, which we'll get to in a second. But then she said, yes, succession has been talked about, just because, it's been 13 years since she took over from George, and they've discussed that, but nothing is decided, and they'll announce it when they're ready. But for me, why I think this was such a big deal, not only the stuff that you mentioned, Corey, that's the official announcements, which we'll get to later in the show, but the fact that she felt the need to say, hey, we know what we're doing. Like, there's no chaos here. Nothing's uncertain. I know I've been doing my job the whole time, and I feel like she's been, taking strays for years, like you said, the laser beam eyes, but I'm having a little bit of a tough time figuring out what about this specific interview was the final trigger to make her say, okay, listen.
I don't know.
I'm setting the record straight, because it didn't seem as bad as some of the others.
Yeah, the first thing that just sticks out to me was the word piranha-like, because that is what it feels like. Especially when I guess anybody on the internet will just grab something, the first thing they hear, and they'll immediately make it a headline, and then other people will run with it. They may see where there's smoke, there's fire, and then then they immediately tell you that there is a forest fire. There's a giant, rainforest fire is what they do, instead of just actually looking and trying to find more details anyways. So I thought that was the word placement was perfect, because that's probably what it felt like to her. But yeah, that's a good question. What made her actually say, hey, hold on a second, let's pump the brakes? I don't know where y'all are getting this from. But on the other hand, like I just said, where there's smoke, there's fire. She said a month or a year from now, we'll let you know, but there is something happening, maybe not soon, but they've had talks about it. So
yeah. And I think that's the confusion of the source, probably, because the Puck News source, the Hollywood Reporter, said is usually, I don't know, decently reliable. And I will say it's very rare that Hollywood Reporter jumps on something with just a single source. So they must have had a lot of confidence. Yet she said, her direct quote was, "There's never been any chaos because we know exactly what the plan is. And we've been talking about it, as I said, nonstop for the last couple of years, because for obvious reasons, I'm not going to be here forever." And then I got to give credit to the Deadline reporter. Asked her straight up, said, "Will you step down this year?" And she said, "We really don't know at this stage. There's so much going on, Mike. I don't know." And then he said, "Whose decision will it be when you do?" And she says, "It's my decision, 100% me alone. Her decision." So I think it was a nice way for her to take the power back, because, man, I feel like there's just so many folks that want the narrative that she's being pushed out. Iger is actually pulling the strings, and Filoni and Favreau are really edging their way here. And this whole interview, she's just like, "You dumb little boys. I run the company. Like, what are you doing, you know?"
Yeah. Yeah, it's honestly, it's like I'm a little baffled by this entire situation too, because I don't think anyone that genuinely does, care for her. We like Kathy. Every time she goes on stage, she has something profound to say.
Yeah.
We've always liked, Kennedy, and like, I don't think that any of the folks that even like really care for her would say that it's bad that she retires, I guess. So like,
No, she's done a great job. She deserves to go make other stuff if she wants, for sure.
And it's been a long time now. I mean, we're going on, over a
13
decade
years.
now,
Yeah.
right? So like, I don't think it would be a bad thing if she stepped down for any reason. I'm not sure why she really felt the need to so strongly like push back against this. I mean, it was odd. This entire situation was just very odd, that she granted this interview and sort of retracted this, and also straight up says that she doesn't know if she's going to retire at the end of this year. So, I mean, part of me does wonder if like some of the original rumors were actually true. Maybe somebody pretty close to the matter actually really did leak this, and she was considering retiring, and maybe she felt the need to push back this. Maybe she hadn't gone so quite public with it internally a little bit. So
or she's maybe she's like setting up her next avenue, right? Because she says like, "I'm gonna die on movie sets," basically. Like she says, like she's been a filmmaker for so long, she's gonna stay in movies forever. She'll never stop. So maybe in her mind, or in some other people's minds, it's the idea of, okay, the successor plan has been put in motion, but she wants to wait till all the ducks are in a row, so that once the announcement is made, she doesn't have to worry about that. She's like, "What's your next plan?" "It's this. I'm leaving on this day. I know exactly what it is." And someone just got a little eager.
Right. So taking the, kind of taking the reins a little bit of her own show. It makes sense to me, to a degree, but
there was once this part came out, from what I saw online, it was they started running with a different narrative. Like, all right, now who's taking over for Kathleen Kennedy? Is it Feige? Is it Dave Filoni? Who is it? Like, and then they start building narratives off of that. Like, oh, what could Filoni do that Feige couldn't do? And it's like kept like snowballing, and you're just like, hold on. And then that's probably why. Maybe that's why she was like, "I gotta stop this before it gets too out of hand." But maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I have anything profound to say about that, but I think like hers, she's right. She needed to put her voice out there, and she didn't have to. I guess she didn't really have to do anything because it was. I mean, like they put out a lie. You don't have to like shout into the void of that the internet is, but I think it put this whole thing to rest, which was fine. But anybody can say, "No, I don't feel like I'm going to retire this year." Like anybody can say that. That's a general term. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like maybe not this year, but it's maybe sometime. And you're like, "Oh, they're going to retire sometime." It's like, yeah, people freaking retire. And like it just happens. Doesn't mean they're going to do it tomorrow. And you don't have to create an entire narrative that says, this is going to happen after she leaves, and like Star Wars is going to be so much worse after she leaves, or better, or whatever. So,
and it felt like she was trying to like also quell some chaos talking here as well, because over the years, so many folks are saying like Star Wars doesn't know what they're doing, and the development process is so wild because even before she got to the status of current projects, she talked about the development process that she's going through every day internally. She's like, not only am I not leaving right now, I'm actively producing projects. And she had some quotes I thought were really interesting as she kind of took the media to task, you know? We are sometimes as guilty as anyone else of getting really excited about new projects. And even though nothing's official till it's through Star Wars, blah, 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 there's a lot of stuff we know about. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like over the years, things have gotten canceled at a much faster rate than usual, and writers leave projects and all this stuff. And she said a couple quotes about that I thought were really key. She said, "It doesn't matter if you're doing Star Wars or anything else. What's troubling and frustrating is that our development gets scrutinized, and I don't know any other production company where their development gets scrutinized like that. Not every single thing we put in development we are going to make. That's not unusual. We want to make those things that we feel are the best." And this is, I thought, a classy-ish way of being like, yo, media and news, chill out. All right? This is how I've been making movies since before any of y'all were born. This is how it goes. And I thought this was a really interesting way to both say, get excited about what we're doing, but also her first time I think she's ever said, like, I'm frustrated by how much people dig into our development that we don't officially announce. Like, there's a reason we're not announcing it. Like, do you think this is like a cop-out, or do you think there's some legitimacy to that?
No, I think that's legitimate for sure. Do you know about any other franchise where they scrub data from like the hyperlinks and the hypertext of web pages, and they they go through like, oh, they're gonna do a new Jedi Order, but that's what's gonna happen. That's gonna be the next movie. Of course, that's what it is. Of course, that's what they're gonna do.
Not even Marvel, honestly.
Like, it's so weird.
I feel like Marvel is bigger. Honestly, the amount of movies and content alone, Marvel is easily way more stories. But I feel like I don't hear as much of the this leak and this got canceled and they moved this run and this got canceled. Like, there's stuff that people don't like as much, but there's not nearly the assumptive development that Star Wars has.
Yeah, that's totally for sure. And also, I guess just to play devil's advocate a little bit, I mean, they also have announced way too much stuff, like officially, right? So, and there's the other side of that too. It's like, you know, I think that statement is perfectly fair that it's Star Wars is sort of over scrutinized, but then they also have these crazy things where they announce to investors and show these images and these timelines and stuff at conventions that are just sort of unrealistic, and they can't really stick to them themselves, which is not unreasonable, but I don't know. There's got to be a balance here, I think, between like what you share, what you don't share, and then what sort of scrutiny you invite. And I think really that has to do with more of why that, you know, she kind of came back and did this interview in the first place, is it felt like it was inviting a lot of scrutiny, and also in a time where the markets are very labile right now, right? I mean,
my gosh,
they're way up and down since Trump was elected. It's been a lot of crazy speculation, like U.S. stocks overall are just like super, super labile right now. And projects are getting canceled left and right. You know, Disney's under a lot of extra scrutiny as well right now. And I mean, I get it. Like, I feel like this was sort of damage recovery a little bit, like maybe for investor reasons. I mean, you always have to fall back on that, I feel like, with these sorts of conversations and decisions.
I mean, she is the head of a company, right? At the end of the day, like she is helping with creative, obviously, but she's been a producer since like the 70s. Like, she knows how this works. And she even said, to your point about different projects getting canceled, she's like, we've really enjoyed in the streaming space that we've been able to experiment. It's harder to do that in the movie space. And I thought that was really very specific wording of hers, because we've said on this show, it's odd that we don't really know what shows are coming down the pipeline and stuff's gotten canceled. And it's like, oh, they do see some of those streaming shows as experiments in tone, in style, and all these things. But in the movie space, which is coming back in a big way, it sounds like we're probably going to get more of the somewhat safer, quote unquote, like more typical stuff. And we've seen that with stuff like the Disney animated stuff and things like that as well. Like, they have a system that some people say is a little safe sometimes, and they try some risks. But when you're on a streamer and you haven't had a movie in 6 years at the theater, you can do that. But now that she's looking ahead towards box office, as her successor is probably looking ahead towards the theatrical product, I think it's saying, hey, we need to even out these markets. We need to be a little bit calm. So looking ahead, heads up, guys. The stuff you're going to see might be a little more what we've made in the past because we know it works. So
I know.
Again, saying a lot without saying a lot.
I think you hit the nail right on the head, Corey. Disney shares did drop right after that was announced. And
really?
then, yeah. So she's like, crap. We have to
markets don't like instability. They like confidence.
Right.
And
vibes.
So yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Markets is all based on speculation. So I mean, I don't know. This is just super interesting. It is weird sort of hearing the frustration a little bit about like this quote about everything we put in development, that's not unusual. We want to make things we feel are the best. Like I understand where she's coming from with the frustration of this, yet at the same time, we've had 6 years with no films.
Yeah.
And like there isn't a plan. It's so obvious that there isn't a plan. Like, there's not a episode 10, 11, 12 coming. There's like all these kind of all over the place projects. There isn't stability still, even with the storytelling. So like, I kind of want to push back against that. Like, come on, everybody, let's just wait and have patience. When we release something, it's going to be amazing. Because I don't know if I really truly believe that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if it had been, look, we want to make sure that the writing of these next 3 films we're going to release in a trilogy is 10 out of 10 before we get ready to release it. If it's not ready yet, we're not going to release it, right? If that's what they said, that's a little different than like, stop speculating about the projects because we have no idea which ones we're going to make. You know what I mean? Like,
funny you should say that because I think this is a great time to get into what she did say about the projects because she did say a lot, not only about her future, but about what's coming on the pipeline. But before we do, I do want to take a quick moment to let you all know that this episode is brought to you by the United, the official Youtini community. Now, by joining the United, you'll not only receive ad-free shows and exclusive merch drops, but you'll also get unlimited access to our Discord, which is full of enthusiastic Star Wars fans that want nothing more than just to welcome you. Now, it's filled with daily conversations, weekly polls, and monthly events. The United is powered by a community of intentional positivity, and that makes it the best place for you to celebrate your fandom and engage with fans who love everything you do the way that you do. Now, by heading to youtini.com/community, you can sign up for a whole year of the United and save 15% when you use code YOUTINISHOW. That's one word, Youtini Show, for 15% off your first year of the United. So head over now and get signed up to check out our amazing events and connect with your favorite podcast hosts. And thank you again to everyone in our community for their incredible support. And now, back to the show. Now, Kathleen Kennedy, yes, didn't just touch the deadline about her own future. She also gave us a shocking amount of updates on upcoming films from Shawn Levy, Simon Kinberg, James Mangold, and even Taika Waititi. Now, fellas, I'm pretty sure I know the answer here, but before we get into those details, did we expect to get the biggest official update in years thanks to a deadline interview a month and a half before Celebration?
No, not at all.
Crazy drop.
It honestly kind of seems like maybe she forgot to review the notes before she sat down and did the interview.
Yeah, because he primed her like, "Can you tell us about this?" And she seemed kind of like, "Oh yeah, sure."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like it did not seem on purpose. Honestly, it was too much information. Honestly, like I'm shocked that she said as much as she did. Because there's a lot of like pretty confirmatory statements that she made in there that is like that nobody else has said or speculated on at all, and like to hear it come out of Kathy's mouth like literally makes it as true as gold. So
she's signing the checks, like she's
I know
the one that knows what's filming, and
I know.
Yeah,
like I do think that somebody probably read this whole interview and was just like, oh my god.
Yeah, a lot
there
of
goes
us.
the Celebration panel.
I was like, I thought I wasn't paying attention. I was like, are you serious? All of this came out already. What have I not been paying attention to? And it was like, oh, that all happened today.
So let's take it film by film because I'm shocked. There's enough here that we do have to break it down because we're absolutely gonna get lost. So we'll start with Shawn Levy's film. So Shawn Levy, famously the director of Deadpool Wolverine. He's very big right now. And the rumor has been that he's doing an upcoming film with Ryan Gosling starring. That was the latest big rumor. Now, there was no official talk of Ryan Gosling here. That was the one thing that Kathy did not talk about. They didn't ask her specifically about it. So this is not a denial or a confirmation. So that's as real as it was. She did say it's confirmed to be the next project after Mandalorian and Grogu. This is officially shooting after Mando and Grogu. This is next. So we do have this in theaters before the Rey movie, before anything like that. It is also confirmed to be a standalone story post Episode 9, quote, maybe 5 or 6 years out. It was a bit confusing in her timing. It sounded like this might have been 5, 6 years in real world times. But if you look at the interview in context, it sounds like she's saying this is 5 or 6 years after Episode 9.
In the universe.
Yeah, in universe. We may bring some characters back from the sequel saga, but pretty much new characters. So to recap, the next film is Sean Levy. It is a standalone post-Episode 9 story, 5 or 6 years after that, and it is going to be with mostly all new characters, maybe not Ryan Gosling.
And also the next film after Mandalorian and Grogu, which how the hell is that even possible, considering that we don't know?
It's shooting this year, guaranteed. I mean, this Mando and Grogu comes out next year. This has to be filming this year.
It has to be. We don't know shit about it, which means that they're. Do you think this is going to be the surprise, the celebration? You think this is it?
It might be. I mean, she did say in this interview that Sean Levy has been working on this already, like script and stuff, for a year and a half already. Yeah. So like this has been going on.
It's pretty in development. It's honestly shocking that we know so little about this film, if this is true. You know,
they kept this under wraps.
We have been following a lot of like the leaks and spoilers and stuff about Star Wars Celebration internally at Youtini. And we do have we know what panels I think are going to be shown and that sort of thing. And there's not a film panel as far as I know. You know, so we're gonna have to see. You know, they do add things last minute though. Sometimes this type of stuff is kept majorly under wraps. They famously did not share anything about the Rise of Skywalker before they brought out you know, what's his name? Ian McDermott to do the Emperor and everything. All that was very much kept under wraps. Nobody expected that to be the case at all. So we'll see what happens.
See, and this one, the fact that she said this is next, it's been going for a year and a half. This is the one where, to your earlier point, where I do a little bit of pushback on there's no plan, because this seems like this is like post-Episode 9 sequel trilogy pushing forward. This is going to jump us off here. And I think this is the plan that Kathy feels good enough to like kind of casually throw it out. To be like, oh yeah,
I know.
It's Sean's movie. We're doing it, and it's going to come after Mandalorian and Grogu and prep us.
Are you guys surprised that they're doing a quote-unquote standalone movie like in this time period?
I am.
I'm shocked by that.
I love it, though. I feel like it's confidence. It's like, we don't even need it. It's a good enough story that it deserves to be told. Means that pitch had to be hella good.
Does it get a title at Celebration? 1. And 2, does it get a Star Wars story title to it?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm shocked they're doing this at all.
After a Star Wars story part because of the Skywalker saga, they just
brought it back for Andor. So like,
they did bring it back for Andor, right? And I just can't believe it. After Solo, I just can't believe they're doing an independent story. I just can't believe it. I'm shocked. I have no idea what this movie's about. Like, not even the slightest. Like, some characters in the sequel trilogy, like,
it's just maybe we might bring them back.
Heist movie, another heist movie.
But it's good enough that they're like, we're putting our resources here, and I feel like this is maybe what they did. Instead of paying for another show, another brand new show, which we know could be $200 to $300 million, put $210 million into a film, and put it in theaters, and you're gonna make more money. So maybe this is the risk. A year and a half ago, when we started seeing we're coming out of COVID, the streaming numbers all started to dip a little bit. They're like, okay, what's a fun thing we can do with a director that we know is going to have some charisma? So that's the first big one. That's
what the heck?
That's one.
Listen. We follow. You guys don't even understand how much we talk about Star Wars at Youtini. Like Eric and I, we DM all day, every single day about like the latest news that's hitting, about like this is what the leaks are saying, like to do the reporting. Like we talk about this literally every day. We see everything, all the leaks, like, and this is totally new. Like nobody knows anything about this. Like I've seen the rumors about Ryan Gosling. I've seen the movie. I've seen the rumors that it's Sean Levy and like all this stuff, but like the next movie after, how is that
and a sequel trilogy, like, or
a standalone film? What the heck, man? I just can't even believe it.
Yeah, I'm thrilled that they're doing it because it feels like this is the confidence, and we're not just trying a couple and going away. We are going to now go back to the theaters big. We're not going to have a 5 years between projects anymore, because the next thing she talked about, and kudos to the reporter. Again, this is a very well-written interview. If you haven't seen it, we did a write-up about it on the site, and we linked to the full thing. He said, hey, by the way, I did leak a while back that Simon Kinberg is producing and writing a trilogy. And I like how he owned up to it. He's like, I leaked this, by the way. Can you confirm that? And she said, yes, it's a new trilogy. And then he followed up asking, okay, but I know there are different levels of Star Wars trilogies, right? Like there's the trilogies, and then there's just like trilogies. And she said, this is the next iteration, the new saga that moves us into the future.
What the hell does that even mean? The new saga?
Kathy!
Literally 10 minutes earlier, she's like, yeah, everybody sucks. They're just constantly reading about the rumors and speculating. And then she goes and says shit like this. This is like
definitive.
I know, man. I just don't even know what to make of it. Like, you can't retire, Kathy. What are you thinking? You can't retire. Like,
well, she keeps saying this, and then she even said her language on this was so fun. She said, quote, how's scripting going? She says, we're rolling fast and furiously on this. Simon's going to script right now, and we'll probably see something around June. She's even saying, like, she expects it on her desk in June about this trilogy script. Like,
that's nuts. I have no idea where that's even going. It is interesting.
It's not the Rey movie, because that's Nulfi. So
it's not the Rey movie.
Yeah,
it's not the Rey movie.
This is strange. It's odd. I mean, first of all, the Sean Levy movie is like, that is 5 years after episode 9. And then you have the Rey movie, like in the timeline wise, like maybe 5 years after that, right?
It was like 35 years after episode 9, apparently.
Oh, okay. Yes.
No, not after episode 9. That's 35 ABY, sorry.
Okay. And
I
then,
believe.
Yeah, but
I gotta double check that now.
I also thought that the Rey movie was the beginning of the new trilogy, but apparently...
Because that would make sense, right? They can't have all this going on, and yet...
Okay, so, oh man, that's a lot. That's a lot to take in. Because now there's like almost endless possibilities of what the new trilogy could be. They could go way back in the past, or they can go even just like farther off into the future, and then you can try to meet up in the middle with more movies later on. So this is
the new, like, to say this is the next iteration, the new saga. That's Kathy's a pro.
It's not even just that. It's not even just that. It's actually the following that actually stands out to me the most. It's not the new saga. It's the new saga that moves us into the future, which does sort of imply that there is maybe a real plan.
For all of Star Wars, like not just
exactly.
Like all of Star Wars is moving forward for this sounds like decades of new.
It does seem like that, which is like at the same time this could all just be gambling. Like this could all just be. You know, she could
be 6 months out, be like, "Hey guys, it's gonna be great." Peace.
I know, exactly. She could be like retirement parties already on the Google Calendar at the office kind of situation. And she did this interview to protect the shareholders, right? That could very well be the case. But we've never seen this kind of language before. That like there is actually a plan. I still don't know if I believe it. Like it's also political. I just don't know if I believe it. There's so much money tied up in all this. I just don't know.
Yeah, but her saying that, like, so that's 4 movies right now. We're still going, by the way, guys. That's 4 movies, technically. She then went on to be asked about James Mangold's movie, the Dawn of the Jedi movie, as we're affectionately calling it. He asked how that's going, and then she took a little bit of a different tone on this one, and she said, Jim, who is I love when people call like celebrities by their short names, like, oh, Jim Mangold. I love working with Jim.
Jimmy?
He's currently working. Oh, Jimmy, Jim boy, Jim Bob.
Oh yeah, Jim.
Oh, Jim.
That scoundrel.
He said he's currently working on the script, but admittedly got delayed when A Complete Unknown, his Bob Dylan movie, hit awards season. I saw the Oscars last night. But again, this is the professionalism. She took a new quote and said, "You have to accommodate top talent to a certain extent, and quality is so important with what it is we're trying to do. I like to wait for people I think are passionate and really good to step into Star Wars." And I'm like, you know what? What a hell of a way to say, yeah, it's a delayed. But she's like, no, but it's a great thing because he's at the Oscars, baby. Like our Star Wars people are too busy getting awards.
He's straight up one of the best to do it. So yeah. Like, we'll give him some leeway.
It's a very political way to say that, and the way that she said that, which is like, again, that's why I'm like, I'm just afraid to have trust, right? Or I'm so wounded.
Or it was like a mission, not a mission statement, but just a highlight to James Mangold. It was like, hey, get your ass back in the studio.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Take your award.
I know the Oscars
and get
are
back
Sunday.
to work.
Okay, you're done here, but this is, I think one of the things that fans as a whole have accepted about Star Wars sometimes is that we love the world building, we love the characters, we love a lot of the storylines. Sometimes we have it at the sacrifice of dialogue or sacrifice of some certain things. Like, okay, sure. But she's saying, oh no, James Mangold, specifically, his writing is pausing because he's too busy getting awards for his movie he just wrote and directed.
Yeah.
Is like a nice little call. Also, I think as a producer, like you say, she's both talking to her shareholders. I think this is a quote for future Star Wars creators too, to say, hey, hello, I will wait for people I think are passionate about this. I will respect the schedules of people that are this good. So maybe some of the people that didn't want to touch Star Wars because they are afraid of the timelines are like, oh, maybe I do make my independence, because James Mangold also directed Indiana Jones. That could be confusing. He did make an indie, if you will. But like, okay, maybe if Kathleen Kennedy and Star Wars will let me take my time, maybe I will pitch. Maybe I will answer that email. And I think she's, again, cultivating the next 10, 20 years to say, hey, give it a shot.
I wonder if this is a sort of subtle nod to Patty Jenkins as well, the way that this was worded a little bit. Because, Jenkins famously didn't, like had a lot of back and forth about whether or not she was doing a Star Wars film. And the word on the street is it's still on the table.
It's
so
not
like
dead yet, and
I know.
Wonder Woman was the reason Wonder Woman 84's timing was apparently the reason that it got stopped in the first place. But
yeah,
it could be saying, hey, I'm waiting for you,
At the same time, to play devil's advocate just a little bit, they say this about literally everybody that works on Star Wars, this type of thing, about like, everybody is amazing, everyone's perfect, we love working with them, we're gonna wait, that's their job as the leader to sort of say some of that stuff. But I don't know.
Can you imagine a red carpet for the premiere of Sean Levy's movie? Kathy Kennedy's coming on. She's like, hey, you just retired. What do you think of the movie? And Kathy goes, woof. We made it.
Not our best work.
Oh man.
I'm glad everyone looks great. That's how you know. Like, what do you think of the film? Well, everyone looks great tonight, don't they? They just they're here. Huh? How about that?
Hey, you.
Just thanks everybody for coming out. We just really appreciate everybody coming to see the film. Thank God IMAX tickets cost $30 a piece.
Yeah. We really got it to the finish line, as a group. The best thing about this movie is that it's finished. But although that being said, she did have a couple more tidbits about some creators that were smaller and a little jokey, but made me feel like she's actually being very, very honest. Because they asked him about Taika Waititi's film, which again got that one logo years ago, and they're like, "It's coming." We've heard literally nothing. Yeah. And she did have this quote that was not exactly too helpful. She said, "He's so busy. I love him. I think if we ever do get a script from Taika, it's going to be fantastic."
Yeah, that's what kind of bummed me out. I was like, "Damn, we lost this one."
I think that they've. You think that they've?
You think that they've before this? Like, Kathy, what are you doing?
I know, seriously, I know. Do you think that they've sent Waititi like 12 emails that are all unread, and like he hasn't opened any of them, and like they're like, you know what? What if he writes the damn thing, I guess we'll make it. But
it feels like that. I mean, she's literally like, listen, I love the guy. She also said that she had seen like a first act that he made like years ago, and she thought that was great. But again, it feels like she's comfortable enough to be like, you know what? If we do, it's great. I'm not stressing about it. We got enough pans in the fire, But this made me think she's not just gonna say yes about everything. She is gonna say that's probably not gonna happen. Okay, like we would like to. And then same with Tony Gilroy. The interviewer asked, are we gonna get a film from Tony? And can you get him back into the chair? I think he asked, and she said, I don't know if I can. I don't think he ever believed he'd be a decade inside Star Wars. He's writing some things on his own, and I think he'd like to get back into the director's chair. Which I think is more than fair, because, yeah, dude, we love Andor. It's 10 years of your life to make all this.
Literally all of us have said that, like, Gilroy is never going to touch Star Wars again after this. It's so obvious. Like,
totally fine.
Listen to the man talk. He like low-key hates it, I think. Like,
I think he just finished it. I think he did what he set out to do.
I think he dislikes. Let me rephrase that. I think Tony Gilroy dislikes the pomp and circumstance with Star Wars. He doesn't like all the bells and whistles and all the media attention and all the scrutiny. He doesn't like any of that stuff. He just wants to make good art and good like TV and film. And it's hard to do that in Star Wars because the expectations are just so all over the place for lots of reasons. And
you're locked in. I think that's
you're stuck.
Yeah, so I think he's going to take the check that he got for Andor and all the people, again, the 14 new fans that he got from all of us that love the show and didn't know him before. And he's going to, go back to doing Bourne Identity movies or spy thrillers or something. So,
Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne.
All right, so to recap, everybody, Kathleen Kennedy told us she is not ever going to retire from movie making. She might have an announcement in the next month or a year about her leaving Lucasfilm. Succession talks have gone on there, but she's going to get to them when she decides to. The development cycle should not be scrutinized because they're not going to make everything they want to make. Sean Levy's new film is going to be the next one after Mandalorian and Grogu, which is after Episode 9, maybe 5 or 6 years, and with all new characters, maybe Ryan Gosling. Simon Kinberg is writing the new Star Wars trilogy that is going to take us into the future. It will also probably be after Episode 9, and it's rolling fast and furiously, getting a script around June. James Mangold's film is being delayed slightly because he's working on a script. It got delayed because of award season, and she wants to accommodate talent. Taika Waititi's film is probably not going to happen, but if it does, she'd be happy. And Tony Gilroy is probably not coming back after Andor.
That was
one interview.
Just a small article published over on Deadline. No big deal.
So that's what happened this week, everybody. Star Wars Celebration's in a month and a half. So here's my prediction now. We're going to find out less at Star Wars Celebration than we did in this interview.
I think so.
No, don't say
I
that.
think so.
Don't say that.
I'm calling it now. We will not be able to cover nearly as much. We're gonna get a trailer for Mandalorian and Grogu, but this volume of stuff, I think this is also all the stuff that's not gonna be at Celebration. Maybe like none of this will be there, so she didn't mind saying it here. Like that's gonna be about Celebration Japan just actually announced the panel lotteries today, so we see that they're gonna talk about Mandalorian, Grogu, Andor, Ahsoka, and Visions. Those are like the big key panels. So maybe they want it to be about the TV and about the one movie, and not overshadow it. So
we'll see.
Who knows, everybody? If this is all we get, at least it's a year of information that we just got.
I know. For real.
Oh, man. But somehow, everybody, that wasn't all that happened this week. It was almost all that happened, but we do have to go back to one final story. Because for our final story tonight, instead of looking to the future, we're going to take a quick second to honor the past. Because prequel kids, our time has finally come as Revenge of the Sith is officially returning to theaters to honor the 20th anniversary of Episode 3 starting on April 25th. Guys, let's just make this nice and easy and get the immediate question out of the way. Are we going? We gonna go see this?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
okay, great.
Yeah.
Also, follow-up question. Is this the hardest Star Wars poster that's ever been made? Oh, my God.
Yes. Matt Ferguson did this art.
This looks like a freaking death metal cover. It's like insanely. There's so many details to this if you look closely, too. The Jedi Temple's on fire in the background. This is like the hardest poster I've ever seen.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing. It's an anniversary poster. If you haven't seen it, it's the same artist that did the Phantom Menace one last year for their 25th anniversary. So he's, I think, slowly making his way through all the episodes that he can. But yeah, this got announced. It's coming out April 25th for 1 week only. It's going to be a very short engagement the week after Celebration. So they're really going to capture those like Celebration week and/or releases. Revenge of the Sith goes in for a week, and then it's May the 4th. So crazy couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But one cool thing they did announce that I'm very excited for that we're going to have to figure out in Charlotte down here. It's going to include 4DX screenings with those motion chairs. Have you guys ever seen a movie with those before?
I've never seen a movie. I've only done like rides and stuff.
I've been to Ghostbusters, the newest
No
Ghostbusters.
way.
Oh, it was so much fun. It was so much. People had like people with small children had to leave the theater because it was too much for them because they were just like, you know.
I heard about that with Twisters. People were falling out of the chairs because the
You get a
tornadoes were like,
seatbelt.
slinging them so hard. Like,
yeah.
so I did this in 2015. I saw Force Awakens, the 8th time I saw it in theaters. I was gonna go 7 for 7, but my buddy was like, "Hey, there's this 4D thing. Do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I liked that I had already seen it because, like you said, Wes, it really is an immersive experience. And if you haven't seen the movie before, you cannot follow it. I don't recommend it. But like, it was when the X-Wings were going, it would like swerve you. And then sometimes when BB-8 like went forward a couple inches, the chair went like, and just like moved you a little. And I cannot wait for the freaking like the opening of Revenge of the Sith flying around Coruscant.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna like spin you upside down and stuff. Oh
not only that, there's waterworks going on in there too. There's mist that flies out. It's from the seats in front of you will spray mist at you if there's some kind of water scene or whatever.
So in Mustafar, is it just gonna be like molten lava?
I imagine like in the very beginning of the movie, they're gonna show like they're gonna do like a hair dryer or something blowing in your face.
Yeah.
Because they do a lot of that at the 40X, but man, it's so much fun. Now, there was a guy there that was just like, "Oh, get your kids out of here! It's gonna be crazy." 2 families had to leave.
That's funny, dude. That's
that guy
funny.
was by himself. He was the best.
Do you get motion sick at all, Eric? You're like pretty prone to motion sickness.
I'm very prone to motion sickness, and I hate roller coasters. I was fine. Again, 10 years ago, it was because again, it's not like in a tube. It's still a chair, so it's like moving a little bit. I didn't get too freaked out.
Is there anywhere in Charlotte that does this? Have you looked it up yet?
There is. There's one. I think it's like more south near like Pineville area.
Okay.
It's not on A-list, so I'll try.
When can we buy tickets? Do we might know yet? Do we know anything?
They're not
about
out
this yet?
They're not out yet, so I'll tell you that.
I also checked to see if it was at the COSM. The COSM, is that what it's called? COSM?
Is that the giant screen thing where they show like sporting events and
Correct,
stuff?
Yes. There's one in Dallas and there's one in Los Angeles, and I was checking to see if they had the one in Dallas.
Oh, is that that crazy thing that I've seen like the NASCAR races at?
Yeah, you like buy tables and stuff.
Dude, that's the most insane thing I've ever freaking seen.
It's a huge dome. Yeah. And you sit like in tiered. You have tiered seating, and then it's just like you're immersive there. And they have what I found out is if it's a live event, they have specific cameras just for that actual show.
Wow!
So you have like 8X cameras that are there only for that show, so you get better views. And so they had that at like the last WWE pay-per-view at Elimination Chamber. They actually had special cameras for that where you felt like you were sitting ringside. It was nuts.
That's incredible.
Yeah, the seats are like they charge you for them. It's like $160 a seat. But but it's something.
Yeah, the racing videos that I've seen are literally next level. Like the whole screen like shakes because the camera the cars combine. It makes the whole thing rattle and everything. It looks insane.
Yeah. Athletics, that's absolutely the way to go. I don't think we're getting Revenge of the Sith on there.
That's all right.
But yeah, this is gonna be going. So check your local theaters. I did a little search, and Phantom Menace tickets when they did that last year were about 6 weeks ahead of time. So in the next couple weeks, again, stay tuned to Youtini. We'll tell you.
Regal Stonecrest, is it the one, Eric?
That's the one.
I just googled it. Yeah.
So
if you want to find out where we'll be or where these guys will be,
I might still be in Japan that week. I actually don't know how many are going to be back yet. I'm
we'll have to see your timing, but
so
we'll see. Go ahead.
Oh, this movie was like this is famously for me. I had skipped class in college. Like I had to be in class for something. It doesn't really matter. But it was like 11 a.m. and I went by myself and I watched it twice. So I left and went to the bathroom and then I went right back in. And I watched it twice and I was like, this is the movie that sold me on Star Wars was this one right here. So I kind of had some nostalgia for it. Definitely going to see it again.
What it did for me, this is going to date me in a couple different ways. The biggest movie review thing for me was Yahoo Movies at the time.
Yeah.
That's what I always checked. And I remember, even though I liked them, I was conscious of the fact that adults didn't like episode 1 and 2. And it didn't affect me a ton, but I had this idea. And then I remember seeing Revenge of the Sith came out, and it had a Yahoo users ranking of a B+. And I'm like, yeah, this is a really good one.
That's
I got
funny.
so stoked. But yeah, I can't wait. I mean, I don't have a really conscious memory of seeing it on the big screen. Corey, you and I and Charles, we went and saw Phantom Menace last year.
That's right.
Which was
That was
fun,
fun.
but it's not
It
the
was
same
fun.
quality of movie as Ready to Sit.
It's
I don't think
not.
that's a hot take. I think this is gonna
It's
be
not.
incredible. Especially if we get those 4DX chairs. I think we gotta
It
find
says April
It's fun.
April 25th for a week. So I'll be home on the 28th. So there's a couple days in there we could maybe go see it. Also, we're renting out a movie theater for your wedding, Eric. Like missed opportunity, man.
I know, I messed it up. Yeah,
We
my
can do
bachelor
both.
party guys. We're getting a little indie theater here in Charlotte. We're gonna rent out a movie theater, and they're gonna like open a champagne bottle for us and stuff. It's gonna be delightful.
Yeah, it's
It's
gonna
gonna
be
be great. But yeah, so this comes out last week of April. I mean, seriously, looking at the schedule, I was pretty impressed by the fact that they're going straight from Celebration to Revenge of the Sith to May the 4th. Like, they're really an Andor in there, right? Like, this is
I know.
really Star Wars being like, we're gonna chill for a second and then blitz,
Yeah.
and then like, and Andor will be almost done because we're only getting what 4 weeks of it.
I know.
So this is gonna be
Yeah.
crazy dense.
Celebration like is the only thing that ever happens too that like makes you want to be like, you know what? I'm gonna go watch a different movie after this.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
doesn't happen.
There's
No.
so much Star Wars that happens at Celebration. It like just it
Yeah.
sucks the life out of you because there's just so much of it. It's just complete like emotional overload of content
Yep.
and releases and news. So like it's a lot to cram all in together for sure. But I don't know, 4DX sounds pretty wild. So
Yeah.
we have to do
Well,
that.
we'll have the Youtini show the Monday after with all of us just being like, ooh,
Green.
You know,
yeah, just completely wiped out. But
yes, exactly.
oh man, so that was, guys, another crazy week. I'm such a broken record on it, but we heard more about the future of Star Wars we've ever had. We heard the past is coming back. The celebration is how many weeks away now? Are we looking at? It's like 7 weeks. 1, 2, 3,
something like
4,
that.
5, 6, 6.5 weeks away. Like,
Good Lord.
we're on the cusp of some pretty amazing stuff, y'all. And again, just to say one more time, stay tuned to Youtini throughout it all. We're gonna keep you posted everything, and even stuff that's not just news. We got stuff going up on the site all the time. We had a bunch of cool articles about Mon Mothma come out this week to celebrate Andor, to make sure that you're all ready to go. So, you know, if you like what we do, thank you. Thanks for sticking around. We will be back on this show live next Monday to tell you everything else. I can't promise there's another generation-defining interview, but who knows? We'll find out. But until then, everybody, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Youtini Show. Thank you so much to everyone in our community for supporting this show, and we will go ahead and see you guys next week. Everything Star Wars in one place, founded by intentional positivity. Until then, may the Force be with you.